Hi guys, I'm Kenny. In my former job, I deal with data analysis and I bring this skill set of mine into real estate. With the skill sets that I acquired, I've helped my clients to sell their place at a higher price than their neighbors, as well as to help my clients buy their property at a lower price compared to their neighbors. So before I go into the 6-figure mistakes that you didn't know about your HDB loan, let me introduce to you what is a HDB loan and what is a bank loan and what is the pros and cons of each loan. So for most of you who are at the age of considering your first property, right, you'll either be going for BTO or resale HDB. And in this case, you'll probably be on this topic about HFE, the down payment, and of course, it'll be about HDB loan or bank loan. Okay, so HDB loan is essentially a loan provided directly by the HDB and it is pegged at 0.1% above the CPF OA rates, which is 2.5%. So it is currently at 2.6% per annum. So that is to say that if there is a change in the CPF OA interest, our HDB loan will also change. For example, if they were to change from 2.5% to 2%, so our HDB loan interest rate will be 2.1%, for example. And for many years, it has stayed the same, and therefore, it is highly unlikely they will change it very soon. So of course, apart from HDB loan, we have bank loans. So bank like our usual one like UOB, DBS, OCBC, etc, right? So we take the loan from the bank and then we will pay them monthly installments. So the thing about bank rate is that it fluctuates a lot. So for example, if the bank rate can offer you about 1%, for example, okay, the next year it might not be 1%, okay, it could be 2%, okay, or even worse, it could be 3% or 4%, like way higher than a HDB loan. So of course, going for bank loan means that it'll be riskier in a sense compared to HDB loan. And sometimes it is not that we don't want to go for HDB loan. Sometimes it's because of the eligibility requirements, similar to BTO, okay? Only for Singapore citizens, okay? At least one borrower must be citizen, okay? So if you're applying under citizen and a PR, so it has to be at least one citizen, then you can apply for HDB loan. Must be income ceiling requirements, meaning to say BTO income ceiling is 14K. You need to be below that together with your applicant, which is your spouse, right? Only for HDB flats, resale or BTO. And it will be based on mortgage servicing ratio of 30%. So for bank loan, like I mentioned, it is not that you don't want to go for HDB loan. It's sometimes because you didn't meet the income ceiling requirement. Then you have no choice but to go for bank loan. So bank loan is available to everyone. It has no income ceiling restrictions, okay? It is for HDB flats and private properties. More flexible options to increase loan size. So bank loan depends, okay? It can be total debt servicing ratio, which is up to 55% of your monthly income. This will be based for private properties. For HDB loan, it is still 30%, which is the same as mortgage servicing ratio, okay? So understanding the percentage, how it works, okay? So 30%, which is the mortgage servicing ratio, means that your total property loans monthly repayment cannot exceed 30% of your gross monthly income, okay? This will apply to HDB. Okay, it doesn't matter whether it's a BTO or resale, okay? Another thing also, MSR applies for EC. Okay, so it makes EC even tougher to buy. Okay, but of course, doesn't mean that, you know, under MSR is always HDB loan. It is not. MSR also applies to bank loan. So if you are going to buy EC, you fall under MSR, but you are taking bank loan. Okay, like for the HDB, right? For resale HDB, for example, you are not eligible for a HDB loan. Okay, but no matter what it is, if you are going to take a bank loan, you are still falling under MSR. Your monthly installments will be calculated based on 35% of your monthly gross income to repay your monthly installments. Okay, total debt servicing ratio is up to 55% of your gross income. So in other words, if you compare HDB or EC compared to a private property, you are essentially going to get more loan for a private property. But of course, it will be tougher for you because you are going up for like 55% of your gross monthly income. So for example, you have about $10,000 per month, right? Minus CPF, you have about 8,000, for example. Okay, then you are paying about $5,500. Okay, how much are you left with? $2,500 for your money expenses. So this is just an example. So when it comes to interest rate, the stability versus flexibility, if you notice, this is the bank loan, the bank interest rate, compared to HDB, which is at 2.6%. Very, very stable. So sometimes you'll find that, wow, the market is very, very low. I'm still paying 2.6%. It's fine. Because if it goes to 4%, you're not the one complaining anymore, right? So just make sure that, if the market is doing well, it wouldn't be there forever. There's always a cycle. You will go from low, you will always go from low to high, and then high back to low. Because as always, the economy is changing. Okay, if there's inflation, they're going to do something about it. And then if the economy is not moving, they'll also do something about it, right? So there's always a cycle. Okay, but if you're in the middle, we are very sure that with the stable money installments that we're going to pay, right, the amount that we are fixed at, we know for sure that this month, if my money installment is about $2,400, if my CPF can pay for it, by all means, right? If my money installment is for example $2,400 again, but my monthly CPF total combined is about $1,000, I need to fork out about $1,400 in cash. But all this is fixed. That means to say, for every month, as long as you fork out this amount of money, for sure you're going to do this. But if you're going for bank loan, it's a bit difficult to plan ahead for this kind of thing if there's a lot of changes in the market. So next, we're going to compare between HDB loan and bank loan. So for $500,000 property, right, how much are you going to down pay for a property between these two loans? So for HDB loan, it is down to 75%. Last time it is 90%. Then after that, they down to 85%, then down until now 75%. Okay, so it means that 25% need to be down. Then some people will say, it's similar to bank loan, correct? Bank loan also need to down 25%. But if you are using HDB loan, this 25% can be fully used using your CPF OA. So in this case, you don't have to fork out a single cent in cash, unless you're going for resale property, which requires you to pay 1K option fee and then $4,000 for exercise, right? So for resale, yes, you have about $5,000 to pay in cash. But if you're going for BTO or probably like sales of balance flat directly from HDB, right, you don't have to pay cash. So it's a bit different for bank. You're also doing 75%. You also need 25% down payment. But in this case, only 20% can be in CPF OA. At least 5% in cash. In this case, $25,000 has to be in cash. So you need to fork out $25,000 upfront because you're using bank loan. And what it also means is that having paid out this $25,000 in cash, you have lesser cash to do your reno, right? So this is something you have to take into consideration when you're buying your resale HDB. So monthly payment comparison, for example, if you're doing HDB loan, because it is fixed, for example, you're paying about $1,008 a month. So if you're taking a bank loan, for example, at 2%, it will be lesser, definitely, but it wouldn't be forever, right? So if the interest rate rises to 3.5%, you're paying $2,000, about probably $100 or $200 more compared to a HDB loan. So this is the difference between HDB and bank loan. So first thing is, if you like stability, HDB loan. If you don't have a lot of cash, like I mentioned to you, you don't have the first 5%, which could be like 25,000 or more, choose HDB loan. So you can choose a bank loan if you have strong cash reserves, meaning to say you're able to afford the 5% down payment, on top of your rental fees, if any. If you're very familiar with the whole economy, how the interest rates are moving, probably you're in the bank, right? You're familiar with all the interest rates and everything, then by all means go ahead for it. And the last one is, you're not eligible, really bo pian, really no choice. You really want to go for HDB loan to save on cash reserve, but you couldn't. But we still need a roof over our heads, right? So you have to go for a property. You have to start saving now, because property for most people is like a savings plan, you see. You're putting your money away into it, by choosing a location that you call home, by choosing a property that you call home. At the same time, you're also saving in it. You're force saving yourself in it. So just start somewhere. Eventually, you're going to grow your assets portfolio. From this HDB, you're going to move to another, probably like a bigger HDB, or probably to another condo or even landed. We never know. So the next thing is very important. Okay, this is the 6-figure mistake that a lot of people didn't know about their HDB loan. So if you didn't already know, every Singapore citizen is given 2 chances. Similar to BTO, right? We are given 2 chances to BTO. Okay, or rather 2 chances to BTO or take EC or 2 EC, for example. We are given 2 chances to take HDB loan. Okay, so after you purchase your first property, you'll probably buy a 4-bedroom, right? You want to move into a 5-bedroom or probably like an executive apartment or maisonette, or in Punggol they have the 5-room premium loft unit, right? So you want to upgrade, okay? And this time around you are still eligible for HDB loan and you wish to take up HDB loan, okay? So this is where you have to be very careful when you're going for this second HDB loan. So for example, you sold your previous HDB, you sold your first BTO 4-room and then you live with your parents or live somewhere or you go overseas and then you come back. So now you're going to buy your second HDB. It could be from the resale market or it could be from HDB itself, okay? And you're going to take HDB loan. So you have sold off your previous HDB, okay? And then with the cash proceeds, for example, about 300,000, okay? You use it to go traveling, okay? For the next 2 years, 3 years, you're never back in Singapore for a very long time because you're like traveling, you go somewhere to stay, Australia, for example, New Zealand, okay? And then you spend down to $100,000. And then now you come back, okay? Now you think that you want to buy your second HDB and you want to take and you're eligible for HDB loan, okay? Bear in mind, if you want to take the second HDB loan, okay, the cash proceeds from your previous property, need to pay for the new flat. Okay, so what happened just now, I mentioned, right? 300,000. Half is 1500. But let's say because you go traveling, you're left with 100,000. Now you have to top up 50,000 from your own savings, just so you can be eligible for the HDB loan. Okay, sometimes it's a bit too late before you know that, because sometimes you apply for it and then after that they will tell you need to do this. And then habis already. Okay, so this is very important and I don't want you to make this mistake. So if you're using CPF, of course you'll be using CPF from your OA, right? You may retain up to $20,000. So if you're buying before you dispose your existing property, right? For example, you apply for BTO, then you also apply for HDB loan for the next property, right? Okay. So you collect your keys first and then after that you have about 6 months to dispose your current property. Okay. So after this property is sold, okay, this 50% of the proceeds, the cash proceeds, will go directly into the new flat. So you'll be only keeping half. So in this case, it's quite transparent to us. So, but you have to bear in mind, at the point of time when you calculate yourself, probably for example, you have about $400,000. So what are you going to do about it? Probably you think that you're going to use a huge amount of this into a business, or you're going to invest it, or probably you're going to put everything into a fixed D. But turns out because you took HDB loan, you didn't know about this thing, you end up having to, if you're putting it into fixed D, you're going to cough out the penalty for it, take out the money, right? Take out the money and then you pay half into the property. Okay? Always take note. For the second HDB loan, 50% of your cash proceeds really need to go back into the property. And of course, the cash proceeds is always not like 300,000, 400,000. This is just an example. For example, now we are at about 40,000 cash proceeds. Half is about 20k, correct? So over here you see that it's either 25,000 or 50%, whichever is higher. So if you have about 40,000, okay, you're going to minus off this 25,000 and you're only left with 15,000. Okay, so it's not 20,000, it's $15,000. So bear in mind, this second HDB loan is very crucial, and if you didn't know about it, you are going to make this mistake. So for BTO owners, easily the profit is about $300,000, $400,000. If you didn't know about it, you go and take a second HDB loan, easily you're going to be charged with this $150,000 or $200,000, 50% of your cash proceeds. So in this case, what can we do about it? If you don't want to put the 50% of the cash proceeds into your property, right? And this is also one of the main reasons why people would prefer bank loan over HDB loan in terms of stability, and another one that fluctuates a lot. But in order to keep 100% of your cash proceeds, the bank loan might be a better way to go. And with that, I end my topic for today. If you think there's any certain topics that you think is interesting and you want me to address it, by all means let me know in the comments. And if you like my content, do like and subscribe to my channel. And as always, I'm Kenny, and I hope to see you soon.